Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there, welcome to the show. I'm sitting here trying to watch Twitter for anything coming out of the investigation, the inquiry. You know what I was thinking? I was thinking that we are all under such a tsunami of news these days that I guess I can only speak for myself, that you reach a point at which you really can't even take it in anymore. I mean, I find like I'll look at a newspaper. I feel like every story I'm reading I've read before. Nothing particularly seems compelling. Like there's a part of me, always a news junkie since I was a kid, that has gone numb. Something. And somebody said something to me last night, a stranger, wow, you sure got a lot to talk about these days. And I thought, yeah, I got a lot, and I got nothing. It's like overload, I guess, huh? Is that what it is, overload? And I've really been struggling with whether or not I've hit a wall here and just can't do this anymore. Sorry. But anyway, I plod on. What? Somebody sent me something that says good news. I'm going for it. Hang in there. Hang on. Yeah. Okay, this is a story about the guy who had the gall to try to help people, right? Is this the one? Wandering in the desert, trying desperately to get to this country, who went to give food to refugees. Who was arrested, right? Is this what this is? Anyway, the headline is Attempt to Criminalize Basic Human Kindness Fails. This humanitarian and activist, Scott Warren, has been found not guilty on all charges. I did see that. And of course, this is a Trump administration going after a guy who was only trying to save lives. They threatened him with 10 years in prison, and the jury was not having anything to do with it. The criminalizing of compassion. There you have it. Donald Trump and Stephen Miller's America. The criminalization of compassion. So this happened on Wednesday, yesterday, and it was a jury in Arizona that said, this guy did not harbor undocumented migrants. What his crime supposedly was is he had provided food and water and shelter to two men who were making their way through an unforgiving desert in an attempt to come to that shining beacon of liberty, America. So thank you, Barbara, for that. That is nice. I am glad. I did see it. And as I was saying, it just sort of like everything goes in and then just out. Nothing sticks with me anymore. I mean, Amy was just talking about something news she saw, and I thought, yes, I saw that too. And these are the things that stick. Have you seen the video of the turkey in Wisconsin who's harassing a mail guy who's in one of the little mail trucks that goes from outdoor mailbox to outdoor mailbox, the kind that you put down, and this turkey is like running after his truck and like attacks every time he stops to put mail in. These are the stories that we cling to now. Because everything else is just so constant and stultifying. So that's it. I should tell you, I saw the Tom Hanks, Mr. Rogers movie last night. It was a screening. I guess it opens. Does it open like tomorrow or something here? I think it might. And I was sitting with my friend Jean Marie Laskus, who I think I told you yesterday has written a must-read piece for this Sunday's New York Times Magazine. So if you pick up the Sunday Times, that's the piece you wanna read about Fred Rogers, about Mr. Rogers. And Jean and I watched the movie together. She is friends of the Esquire reporter who wrote the article on which the movie is based, Tom Junot, who was there last night, as was the director and the producers and the screenwriters and all those folks. But Jean, after the movie, turned to me and said, and this is a woman who knew him so well, who spent time, days and days with him, who spent time at his little Nantucket home, the Crooked House, who's close friends with him, every bit as much, if not more, than Tom Junot, who wrote the movie based on his meeting of Fred Rogers. Anyway, she turned to me, and I thought it was interesting that she would ask, since I think she is the person who understands Fred the most and can translate him to others who don't get it. And she said, what I don't understand is why. What prompted this iconization, I don't know if she said that, but of Fred? What she said, I mean, he had been, we all knew who Mr. Rogers was, and Mr. Rogers was well known, and Mr. Rogers was a celebrity, and but all of a sudden, she said, what happened? That all of a sudden he the documentary, articles, books, there's a podcast, there's everything. What happened? And my answer, I mean, just off the top of my head, was Trump. Trump. She considered that and thought, yeah, but didn't it start happening a little bit before even Trump? I don't know. And then I see in the Wall Street Journal today, they're wrestling with the same question. It was weird that Jean asked. This morning I open up the Wall Street Journal and I get this headline, "The Quest for a New American Folk Hero." And Fred specifically did not want to be thought of as a hero or a saint or any of those things that dehumanize you. But even they don't quite understand. So this article talks to pointy-headed intellectual types trying to figure out the answer to the question Gene asked me last night in the theater. And they say that folk heroes like Mr. Rogers now fulfill a need, and a need that we've always had. And currently those needs are being shaped by this time we're living in of zero tolerance for opposing viewpoints. Because Fred famously had an open heart and an open ear to anybody. Especially, I think, those who were struggling, angry, hurt, whatever, which is what the movie's about. And the Wall Street Journal says that even before his death, his untimely death, Mr. Rogers was widely viewed in simpler terms of nostalgia, sort of reduced to a red cardigan sweater in tennis shoes. But then they point not to Trump. They say the deeper assessment of him and his work took off with the 50th anniversary of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood last year. It certainly added to it. So I didn't know there was a podcast called Finding Fred. I don't know if the Carvel Wallace who hosts it, I don't know if that's a good podcast, but I'm letting you know I hadn't heard of it. The people who look after Fred's legacy, the Fred Rogers Productions, are apparently participating in the podcast. So they are giving this guy all the archival material and interviews that he would want. I don't know. As for the movie, I had trouble with it, I'll be honest. And I think it's simply because I knew him and I have my own sense of who he is, so I just couldn't ever slip into seeing Tom Hanks as Fred. And then I didn't, the Tom Junot character, this angry, hurt Esquire writer who Fred befriends in the movie, I didn't like him. It's always hard in a movie to if you can't get in if you don't like the person. So the two main characters, I didn't like the reporter, and I didn't see Fred. But that's my problem, I'm sure. And I don't pretend to know. It's getting a lot of reviews out now. It ain't a blockbuster movie in any way, and I don't know. Everybody, Bill Peduto was there. He talked my ear off about Pittsburgh Public Schools' failure to mind their ledgers. Talked about how their budget keeps going up, and the quality of the education is going down. He was really I wonder, does Bill ever just talk about, I mean, I don't know, whenever he sees me, he just starts talking about, I mean, Franco Harris must be really tight with Joanne. I didn't realize that. He was there. I don't know what to tell you guys. God, I miss him. And Fred Rogers is an elusive character to really, I don't know that many of us have the capacity to truly understand him. He was that unique. I really didn't. I never lost my sense of a measure of discomfort around him, because I think he was so different. I never quite knew. I mean, I was always misfiring around him, always not understanding what he was saying. Most famously, and I'm sure I've told you this, but every time I think about it, I have to laugh. He was at my home. I had bought, this is a long time ago, it's maybe almost 30 years ago. I had bought a massage chair, a chair that you sat in, and then you pushed a button and it kneaded your back. It did all this one. And I said, Fred, sit there, try this. And he sat in it, and it started doing its thing to him. And there was Mr. Rogers, and who always was, he loved it. He was like, oh. And I thought, if we had these cell phones then, I would have definitely Fred, look at Mr. Rogers. He looks practically orgasmic, But I wouldn't have. But that same night, he said to me in a more serious tone that he had been rereading Exodus. And how moved he had been by it. And I said to him, listen to this. Oh, I loved that book. I was thinking, and I went further so it was clear I was talking about Leon Uris's novel, Exodus. Fred, of course, a minister, was talking about the Bible. And I was always misfiring with him like that because I didn't inhabit the same. His head was so different. I'm sorry if between the movie and this article and talking to Gene, you just start trying to process who he was and what his message was. And I do want to say that one of the things about him that people don't know, because people see him as wimpy, right? People see him as this little sweet, wimpy guy. I don't know that I ever knew a stronger, more courageous, more radical, more powerful man. He just didn't wear it like other people do. He was remarkable. And I read Jean Marie's article because I think she comes closest to bringing him back. I mentioned to Joanne, his widow, that I thought Jean's piece was amazing, and she said, oh my God. She said it brought him to life for her, helped her to even mourn him. So if you want to have a sense of who he was, read that piece. It's online now, and it'll be in the print edition out on Sunday. Sondland. Oh, my God. When I first saw him, before his testimony started, I couldn't figure out his demeanor, because this is a guy who was walking into a no-win situation as far as I could see. He was either going to turn on the president, which is, something most people are afraid to do, or he was going to go to prison for perjury, probably. And there he was, and he was grinning and turning around, pointing people out in the audience. And I never saw anybody behave that way right before one of these grueling bouts of testimony. And, man, that was a guy who had decided to do what he was going to do. What he did, he saved himself. He saved himself, and he didn't damage the president as much as he could have. So there was some equivocation, I think. He started out with a bang and then sort of left with a whimper. But he got in laugh lines and generally came off really well. I thought, I don't know, I did. I mean, every witness is corroborating what we know. We know. The president himself releasing the transcript of the phone call is already acknowledged, admitted. I don't care how many times he reads off a cheat sheet that says no quid pro quo, no quid pro quo. I asked for nothing, asked for nothing. I mean, it doesn't matter. So now all we're doing is what? Underscoring everything, adding adjectives and embellishments, and everybody's got their mind made up. I mean, so the Republicans have dropped back to it's not an impeachable offense. Yeah, he did it. Quid pro quo, yada, 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 bribery, extortion, whatever you want. We're living in another reality, and Although, it will be interesting to see in the course of the next months as an impeachment is handed down or up, whichever direction they go, and then Senate hearing. It will be interesting to see, as Ryan Dito was referring to yesterday, how many Republican senators do get uncomfortable enough to convict. I don't think enough, for sure. Well, okay, everybody was wondering why we aren't in the streets. Here's an opportunity. There's going to be a rally in Mount Lebanon. There you go. That'll take them down. 5:30 p.m. on the night before the House votes to impeach Donald Trump. Whatever, I guess we don't know exactly when that vote will be held, but so 5:30 on the night before. There'll be folks in Mount Lebanon and hundreds of other locations nationwide that will do a nobody is above the law, honk for impeachment, yada, 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 yada. Okay? And that'll be in front of Congressman Connor Lamb's office, which is on Washington Road. I just drove by it the other day. So if you're in that area and you want to scream and yell and feel like you're doing something, that would be the way to do it. Barbara asks, is Josie Carey mentioned in the movie? No. Is she mentioned in the documentary? Yes. Yes. And of the two, it's the documentary that is, if you're only going to see one, that's the one. I mean, that I've watched 4 times and is wonderful. So Trump yesterday, was it yesterday that he ran off? And no, it was the day before. I mean, again, overload, can't keep up. I mean, where he went to Texas and said that he was opening this Apple plant, and Apple's head, what's his name? Tim, what's his name? Rice was there, and Tim Cook. I know, okay, you cook rice. I knew it was something. I had in my addled head some sense of culinary something. Okay. Tim Cook was there, and there was Trump, and here's what he said. I guess he tweeted this later. Today I opened a major Apple manufacturing plant in Texas that will bring high-paying jobs back to America. Here's the problem. The plant has been opened for 5 years. It was opened under the Obama administration. He didn't open anything. It is even not owned by Apple. It's owned by a group called Flex Limited, which I think is an affiliate of Apple. Yeah. Somebody else tweeted, congratulations to President Trump for opening a plant that Barack Obama announced in his 2013 State of the Union address. You see, in normal times, or past for normal times, pre-Trump, something like this, something like that would be the biggest story. Do you remember those days? That if a president actually went to this event and didn't even know what the event was, thought he was opening a plant that had been there forever, or at least 5 years, takes credit for it, when in fact it was his predecessor, the guy whose life and accomplishments he's spent the last 10 years trying to erase, that it's, of course, Barack Obama who, if you want to credit some president for it, is to be credited. God, but you don't even blink anymore. We don't even, and that's frightening. I'm going to keep using that word because that's how I feel. Frightened. We have a caller. Caller, go ahead, please.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hey, so what did we think of Jim Jordan? Is he a wonderful human being or what?
Oh, God. Who's worse, Jim Jordan or Devin Nunes?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was watching, I listened a lot yesterday, and I was watching a little bit last night, and he was asking the opinion of one of those poor people who have to go up and testify, and said, don't you think Trump's done more to help Ukraine than Barack Obama? I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with anything?
What does that have to do with anything? Well, but almost all their questions have nothing to do with, are not germane, because they don't have they don't have a leg to stand on. I mean, he is despicable. And he's the one who let a whole bunch of young men wrestlers at Ohio State get molested by this doctor. You know about that?
Yeah, I know. We are living in such bizarre times. Those so-called moral people, I can't imagine where, Reagan would have fallen with all of it. Even Nixon would probably have a problem with it.
Oh, no, of course. No. Nixon at least took his position seriously. Nixon did a lot of good stuff in office. It was just his...
He was presidential. He was a crazy man, too, but he was presidential.
Right, but no, this clown car, they're frightening.
Do you think Bolton will just say, I'm coming, I'm testifying?
No. I don't think he'll see the need to, and I don't think he will. And they ain't going to wait for a court to say he has to. I mean, the continued absurdity of Jim Jordan and Devin Nunes and all the others saying, well, we're still not hearing from the people who, we don't have the people here who can really tell us what happened. We're not getting them because the White House won't let anybody testify. And the only reason they won't let anyone testify, obviously, is because if they do, and if they were not to perjure themselves, they'd have to totally turn on the president. I mean, my God.
one of the things I think...
Go ahead.
No. I was just like, listen to these guys. We haven't heard a shred of evidence. And it's like, they just keep saying that all the time. And I'm thinking to myself, these same sons of bitches would prosecute, convict, and execute somebody for murder with a lot less information.
Of course.
And it's just, they'll go to no ends.
I mean, it's just, it's like, I understand. Yeah, I understand your disbelief. You sit there and watch that, and it's like, again, it's like you fell down a rabbit hole. Like, I hate to say this because, I lived the 60s, and I did ingest LSD on more than one occasion. And I want to say, last night it occurred to me, you know what this is like? It's like a bad acid trip. I hate to tell you. We're living in a bad acid trip. Because acid messes up your perception or changes it in ways. And sometimes, if you're not having a good time on it, it can make you question, like, what? Why is that? Why? And you become just sort of terrified. And we're living in a bad acid trip. Take it from me.
It's because of a bunch of bad asses.
The bad asses. Yeah, God help us. Hey, thank you. I've got another caller I want to slide in here. Thank you very much.
Good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate
Bye-bye.
it. Okay, bye-bye. Appreciate the call. Oh, man. Did I mention there was a debate last night? I'll get into that. Hello, caller.
Hey, Lynn, it's Jeff.
Jeff.
I just wanted to get some stuff off my chest.
Do it.
And it's really hard. It's really hard about this era with Mr. Rogers thing going on, like you're talking about. I keep trying to calm down and be kind and more like what would Mr. Rogers do, kind of a thing. But I can't help myself. I am so goddamn pissed off. It's just driving me nuts.
I know. Me too.
This is a come to Jesus moment for true conservatives and true Republicans. These guys like Devin Nunes and Jim Jordan, they are traitors. So if your oath is to this country and not to the Republican Party, it's time to get rid of these SOBs, because it is so how people cannot see this. Jim Jordan or Nunes, one of the two, the American people are smart enough to know that this is all a scam, blah, blah, blah. You know what? No, the American people aren't that smart. They're pretty goddamn stupid. They're pretty damn preoccupied with the NFL and players kneeling and any other ancillary bullshit that they can conjure up other than what's going on with the government of the United States.
What's going on with the soul of the United States? Yeah.
Every intelligence agency has said that it's Russia that meddled in the 2016 election. Every intelligence agency, not only from the United States, but from across the world. But there's this conspiracy that it's the Ukrainians that did it. Now, this theory that the Ukrainians did it, who would that benefit? It benefits the Russians. If you can't see, if people cannot see, and then you got these sons of bitches who are calling you, Stalingrad Sue and Leningrad Lynn or something?
Yeah.
Come on, boys. Bring it, motherfuckers. I'm ready to kick your ass. No shit. I am so pissed off. This is benefit. Donald J. Trump is Putin's bitch. And if you can't see it, then you are blind or else you are treasonous.
You're absolutely
It is
right.
traitorous what these people are doing.
Putin's
So
bitch. I
thanks
love
for
it.
letting me get that off my
Oh,
chest there.
certainly. Well, I got, Kamala Harris last night said that, didn't she say the president got punked? Yeah, same kind of thing. He's Putin's bitch. I love it.
He is. It is amazing. And you cannot see it. Do you remember the Helsinki meeting? The look on Trump's face?
Oh, my God.
And it just gets more and more. And I don't know if you had a chance as you're way into work there to do your show to listen to the fellow that was testifying, his opening statements.
I
was the guy that overheard the
yes.
conversation.
I listened to some of it, but not all.
He's laying it out too. Let me tell you what.
Sure.
These people that are in Pompeo, who's that little prick, the little Weasley guy?
Mulvaney.
Mulvaney. They're all traitors. And as far as I'm concerned, you know that little thing that says that treason is punishable by hanging? I want to see him hang. No shit. And I'm generally a pretty nice guy.
I know. You're positively Rogerian. Yeah, Mr. Rogerian. All right, you. I'm with you. Totally.
Okay.
I amen to everything you said. Thank you.
Thanks for letting me get that off my chest. And you know what? Remind us all about this thing out there in Mount Lebanon or wherever it's going to be. Hopefully, it should be in Heinz Field or something as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, absolutely sure.
I will be there.
Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Thanks again, Lynn.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. There's nobody there now, right? No. Okay. So, I just, Sondland, so they let him know toward the end of his testimony that the president had responded in some measure to his testimony by saying, I don't have the exact thing, I barely know him. I don't really know the man. What did he say? This is what he always says. I don't know. I think I saw him once or twice. Oh, here it is. I've got part of the quote. Donald Trump was heard to say, I don't know him very well. I've not spoken to him much. This is not a man I know well. That was reported back to Sondland during the testimony, and Sondland, who was just having too much fun, I still can't get over it, his response to it was he smiled and said, easy come, easy go. And then he got on his airplane and flew off to his job, which I have a feeling he's going to get yanked out of pretty soon. Who knows? Do you know how divided we are as a country? How divided are we? We are so divided. Again, this from the front page of the Wall Street Journal. We are so divided that consumer research shows that never Trumpers buy Levi's and people who like Trump buy Wranglers. I'm sorry, it's right here. They got the numbers. It says there is a more partisan American consumer culture where the red-blue divisions even drift into our shopping malls. So consumer research shows that Democrats are much more likely to wear Levi's and Republicans Wranglers. I'm just saying. And I'm just saying, come to think of it, I never wore Wranglers. Did you? No, Amy didn't either. I didn't either. Levi's, yes, I have, but I don't wear them now. I don't know. I mean, they're saying it is true. Even in the corporate world, there is now this divide where, right, we were talking about Dick's Sporting Goods before. I think a lot of Republicans don't go in there anymore since they stopped selling, assault rifles. And then you got Nike doing their Colin Kaepernick ads and stuff. I'm sure Republicans don't buy Nikes. And then there was Chick-fil-A, where LGBTQ and their supporters won't eat their chicken sandwiches. And now Chick-fil-A has said they will no longer give money to the Salvation Army and other organizations that are not necessarily welcoming to the gay lifestyle. And so now the Republicans are turning on Chick-fil-A. There you have it. Republicans are more likely to buy GMC and Ford vehicles. But I'm telling you, Levi's Wranglers, check it out, whatever you're wearing. I would think there aren't many Wrangler wearers in my audience. Right? I have a caller. Okay, let's do it. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Hey, did you happen to see General Barry McGaffrey? I think that's his name.
No.
On one of those. No, you probably don't watch. I don't watch it. I just happen to see it.
Yeah.
And he said that, and I think Vapid's an honorable guy. I'm not picking on him or anything. That he said, if you're not an active military member, you don't wear your uniform to a meeting like that. And then another thing I want to say is, according to military protocol, when you're a civilian does not have to call, your rank. Like, what is he, colonel or whatever? That
Lieutenant Colonel, yeah.
Republican did not have to call him colonel. That is not required.
No, he didn't, but he just...
It was kind of like grandstanding a little bit, but I understand why he did it. That's 2 fun facts for you. Here's another one. One more is from 1946 to, I think, 2000, they did a study. One of them was Carnegie Mellon University. The other was, come off NPR, one of those, that the United States interfered in elections 81 times. And I forget how many, I think like 40 or something, they changed the election outcome. So that's just a little bit of fun facts there for today. You have a good day. Goodbye.
Okay, goodbye. We interfered? I mean, my God, we flat out staged coup d'etats when we're always backfired. Our CIA went in and knocked out a democratically elected president of Iran. Do you remember that? No. And we put in place the Shah, a king. It's real democratic of us. That certainly showed our American values. Yeah, we did that. You got to know history. That's right. And then the Shah did what Shahs do. Yeah. And the people rose up, and that brought the Ayatollah in. And that's where we are now. Yeah. I mean, the number of times that America has interfered, it's true. It's true. And I appreciate the bit of history, American history. So I got back from the movie, the Mr. Rogers movie, in time to still see over an hour of the debate, and I watched it. My son happened to be over, and it put him out cold. I mean, cold. If he didn't get up so early, he would have still been on the couch this morning. I know, he was out, cold, done. So in terms of it being great stuff for insomniacs, but I found it sort of interesting. I like seeing these people, one of whom, as far as we know, is going to carry the Democratic banner into this must-win election. And I understand our nervousness. And I find myself alternately liking and disliking various ones. I find myself, you know who I liked last night? And I never like him. And I'm liking him more and more. You won't believe this. Bernie Sanders. I don't know what that heart attack did to him, but I like him since the heart attack. He's more human. He's more apt to joke, and he doesn't seem as angry. He just seems more affable, and I get a kick out of him. And I certainly agree mostly with his politics. Elizabeth Warren, I was less enamored of last night. You know who I really liked last night? I liked Yang. I liked Yang. Every time he talks, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. I even liked Tom Steyer last night. That's how maybe it was coming out of the Mr. Rogers movie. It was all skewed. And I was more like skeptical of Buttigieg. I was like, you're too good to be true, buddy boy. That's what I was thinking. I don't know you're just too smart and too smooth. He is smart and smooth. But then again, they all sort of, I'll take any one of them. But Biden continued to be doddering to me. I'll take him, but doddering. He said something like, I come out of the black community. He said something like, I thought, what? What? And then he said something like, the only black woman ever elected to the Senate of the United States is in my camp. And I'm two podia down is Kamala Harris. Hello? That is a black woman. She is a senator. And then, what else did he do? When he was talking about women's violence toward women, he said, this was the one where I thought, okay, I can't believe this. He actually said, in saying we've got to, he says, we've got to keep punching at this, punching. I think he said punch, and he's talking about violence against women, and I thought, the gaffe-prone Mr. Biden, that's no joke, and I just think he's our weakest. And if Buttigieg doesn't start appealing to black people, he ain't good. Democrats will not win without the black vote. A big black vote will not win. So why would we pick somebody who has no support in the black community, at least at this point? I don't know. I saw a piece, again, this is Wall Street Journal, I think, today, that just curdled my blood, right? I know it's not curled my blood. It could have been curled my hair. It boiled my blood. It didn't boil my blood. It made me cringe. Curdled my blood. And it's just a little story about the vapidness, the shallowness of some Americans. One of them is a woman named Stephanie Wallace. I know this because I'm looking at her name in print here. says here, on a recent vacation in Bali, Stephanie Wallace paid for a private tour designed with one goal: to capture photos of her that would look amazing on Instagram. I was up at 4:30 in the morning, said Stephanie, doing my hair, doing my makeup. She brought along on her tour 3 outfits, different shoes, so that the tour guide who was taking her picture in various locations in Bali, that then she would put on her Instagram account, this is what she thinks a vacation is. And now there are people who make their money doing professional Instagram tours. People traveling to places not to see the places, but to be seen in the places. And to take pictures so they can, I guess, what? Have status among their friends? What? Some of the guys who do these tours have said, because they also tell people, like, we're standing here in front of this temple, which was built in so-and-so, and they start telling you the history of the place. And he came to notice that the people weren't listening to him at all. They just wanted to get on with, take my picture in front of it. I don't want to know about it. I just want to brag that I was there. And here's another woman who makes her living doing this. You can search and search and search for the perfect souvenir. But ideally, your best gift is going to be memories. And these people think memories are a picture of them standing, posing in front of a place that they never bothered to really even look at or learn about. How's that a memory? Oh, here I am wearing, oh, I love that outfit. And we're at this, I don't know, it was a garden kind of a place, I'm not sure. And oh, the light was just right, and I thought my hair looked fantastic. God! Oh my God! What is wrong with people? The headline is, forget selfies. On vacation, you have to hire a pro. I'm going to puke. Okay. What time is it? Okay. Okay, so there was that. Obit. Obit of the day. Dorothy Seymour Mills. Now, this is an interesting one. She died at the age of 91. I'm looking at a picture of her, and she's holding a baseball bat. Now, Dorothy Seymour was married to a guy named Harold Seymour, who had been her professor and was quite a bit older than she. And she was obviously his student, but they ended up marrying. She, throughout his career, by the way, he became famous. He became famous for writing a book called Baseball, The Early Years. It was published in 1960, and it was apparently the first time that anyone had bothered to take a scholarly look at the American, sport of baseball. And so he was acclaimed, the hubby. A second volume appeared in 1971, and then another in 1990. And Harold Seymour was the toast of the town, lauded as a groundbreaking historian. Washington Post book critics said this in 1990. For 3 decades, Harold Seymour has been not merely the most respected of the game's historians, but also the standard setter against whose works all have been weighed. He legitimized baseball as a subject for serious historical inquiry. Blah, 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 blah. He died in 1992, and his ashes were scattered in Doubleday Field in Cooperstown, New York, where the Baseball Hall of Fame is, and where supposedly baseball was invented, right, in 1839. Abner Doubleday, yada, 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 yada. Untrue. And that's one of the things he's credited with debunking, because he did actual research, and he found out that people have been playing baseball since the 18th century. Even George Washington's soldiers played baseball at Valley Forge just to keep warm. Okay, so we're talking, though, about his widow. Guess what? Turns out she did almost all the work on those books. There are so many stories like this. There have been movies made about this, right? This kind of thing, where a man takes credit as a great artist or a great historian or a great novelist, whatever it is, and it turns out that a woman, his wife, invariably, did the work. So after he died, his wife started stewing. She'd been stewing for some time because he would never acknowledge her work. She wrote, "My star has always been outshone by Seymour's, and I permitted this to happen. I even believed and told him that your work is more important than mine." Her husband, it turns out, hated doing research. Well, hello, you're supposedly this renowned historian? She did all the research. She traveled around the country, scarfing up going through libraries, the drudge work. She's the one who compiled thousands of note cards, writing outlines that found their way, actually as she had written them, into the books that he supposedly wrote. She even was she typed all his manuscripts. She edited them. She found the photographs that accompanied them. She did the correspondence, the indexing, and prepared the bibliographical material. In other words, she did everything. In 2010, in an interview with the New York Times, she said he just couldn't share credit. And I didn't say anything at the time because at that time, wives just didn't do that. He was 18 years older than she was. She said he thought himself very important. So it took a year after his death that word started leaking out about it. Oxford University Press included her name as co-author on all 3 books. And now it is known that you don't credit him. You can credit him, but you equally credit her. John Thorne, the official historian of Major League Baseball, wrote in a message to the Washington Post this: "Their work was brilliant and original in its focus. If someone were to ask me what should be the first baseball book I should read to understand the history of this game, I would point them to The Seymours. Classic. All right. I think that's it, right? Am I done? I'm done! I am so done. Okay, I'll go listen some more to... Fiona Hill is going to really serve Trump up good, I think, today. So, whatever. Enjoy it as much as you can, and because I'm not sure it's going to amount to a, as my mother would say, a hill of beans. Have a good one. I'll see you Monday.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.